anyone can become a victim of a maniac. A series of reprisals, when one inhuman keeps the whole city in fear. And until they find him, he will continue to take lives. Methodically and with pleasure. Smolensk did not escape the fate of cities, those who have known this horror. And only the well-coordinated work of the special services returned the Smolyankas to sleep, neutralizing the serial maniac in an unprecedented record time, in 4 months. But he still dragged 10 souls with him. Sergei Anatolyevich Chyorny is a Russian serial maniac who, from August to December 1999, deprived 10 girls aged 15 to 23 of their lives in Smolensk. Sergei Chyorny was born on May 11, 1977 in Odessa. He grew up in a small house with a disabled mother of the first group, younger brother Mark and sister. Since childhood, he has been involved in sports. He was a champion of the Smolensk region in martial arts. After joining the army, he served in an elite battalion of deep intelligence. After returning from the army, he found out that his brother had joined one of the Smolensk organized criminal groups. He could not follow in his footsteps and was forced to get a job as a security guard at one of the markets in Smolensk. Black had a habit of wearing camouflage uniforms both in winter and summer. According to his own words, his girlfriend did not wait for him from the army and got married, and after that he decided to take revenge. And you know who? Of course, innocent girls who had nothing to do with his misfortune. Although maybe he just needed an excuse. In August 1999, a black man attacked a girl on Stroitly Avenue. He hit her and pushed her into the bushes, then tried to strangle her. Her friend ran out of the garage at the scream. Seeing a man with a tire iron in his hand, the black man ran away.
Hey, I'm not going to beat around the bush. You have to subscribe to the channel and like it so you don't miss new videos.
The girl from shock could not remember the appearance of the attacker, so the investigators did not receive any clues. On September 19, Chyorny strangled 18-year-old Marina Nikitina, who was going to a disco, near the Comintern town. That evening, the girl's father and mother did not know that they were seeing their daughter for the last time. The girl went to the disco. The second in her short life. My daughter never came home. The body of the strangled girl, who had been listed as missing for 3 days, will be found in a ravine on September 19, 1999. The criminal took off the victim's outer clothing and gold earrings. A criminal case will be opened on the fact of the massacre. At that time, no one guessed that this crime opens a series of monstrous murders that stirred up Smolensk. On September 24, Sergei ruthlessly took Elena Chersyna's life in the same way at the spring in the Ryadovka Park. A bra was tied tightly around her neck in one knot. The deceased lost a leather jacket, a leather vest, a cross, a bunch of keys and a travel ticket. On September 27, in the village of Vishenki, the body of 23-year-old Elena Shaviva, who had been missing since September 24, was found near an abandoned warehouse with signs of strangulation. The waistband of the jacket was tied in 2 knots around his neck. On September 29, the body of another strangled girl, 20-year-old Anna Davidovskaya, was found 200 meters from Stroitly Avenue opposite GSK Tikvinka, 3. A loop of a thin strap from a lady's purse was tightened around her neck and tied at the back on 2 nodes. The Department of Internal Affairs of the Smolensk region seriously engaged in the disclosure of a series of crimes, and the maniac, sensing danger, lay low, without giving himself away and without committing new atrocities. A month later, the murderer showed himself again, strangling 2 more girls in 3 days. It became clear, a maniac appeared in the city. The Department of Internal Affairs is seriously engaged in the disclosure of serial attacks. The investigation was headed by the head of the Criminal Investigation Department of the Criminal Police, Vladimir Babilev. During the colonel's service, this was already the 4th maniac. The investigative task force was headed by the investigator for special cases of the prosecutor's office of the Smolensk region Sergei Penchenko. All the crimes were combined into one criminal case. The murderer's handwriting was always the same. After strangling the victim, he took clothes and jewelry. Detectives have identified a circle of suspects, persons who have been in prison for depraved acts, the mentally ill, people from dysfunctional families and acquaintances of the victims. On November 4th, in the Yasenaya River, which flows in a ravine between the village of Vishenki and the garage building cooperative Svet 2, the body of 18-year-old Tatiana Karaviva, whose photos are already too, was found. The days were hung on city search stands. On the neck of the deceased, the executioner tightly tied a handkerchief and a belt from his coat. The victim's outerwear, a gold ring, earrings and a watch disappeared. On November 6th, the body of another victim was found in a forest belt near NPP 80 half a kilometer from Krasninsky Highway. Her passport and student ID were missing. On November 22nd, in the city center, Chyorny met 15-year-old Anastasia Bisalikina. The next day, November 23rd, he invited her to take a walk, get some fresh air. She agreed. When they met, they got into his car and went for a ride. Suddenly, the black man attacked his companion, tried to strangle her, then threw her into the trunk and took her to the outskirts, where he hung her on a tree with her own shoelaces. However, the girl, she survived and soon turned to the police, but because of the shock she experienced, she was confused and could not provide any valuable information. The investigators also failed to find any evidence at the sites of the attacks. The operatives were sure that the monster was covering his tracks. The colonel had no illusions. It could take years to find a serial killer. How many more innocent girls have to die while a ruthless monster is walking free? Law enforcement officers regularly went to schools, institutes, technical schools and vocational schools. They shook a sketch in front of the girls' noses. Intimidated. They acted rudely, often harshly and categorically, trying to deprive the beast of prey. It was all useless. Even despite the hysteria fanned by the local media, experts have put forward an unexpected version. It is possible that the criminal is a law enforcement officer. Long painful checks of junior police personnel began. Especially those who have passed Chechnya. Shoulder straps cannot be discounted. Serial killer Storozenko turned out to be a freelance police officer. The tests did not give any results. In early December, investigators managed to find a victim who survived the August attack. She reported that she saw the criminal at one of the city markets. For several days she was driven around the markets of Smolensk, and on December 14th she pointed out to the detectives who attacked her, a person. Round-the-clock surveillance was established for the suspect, including video shooting with a hidden camera. When viewing the recording with the image of the suspect, one of the detectives said that he knew a very similar person, a member of the criminal group of Mark Chyorny. It turned out that Mark was the younger brother of the main suspect, a 22-year-old security guard of a private security company, Sergei Chyorny. Meanwhile, bodies continued to be found in the city. On December 17th, the remains of a girl with a leather belt from her coat tied in 2 knots around her neck were found in a ravine behind the GSK Zvezda in the 2nd Krasninsky Lane, and on December 22nd, Olesya Terentьeva was found in the Yasenaya River in the Ryadovka Park. It was decided to detain the Black brothers, although there was no evidence against them. On December 23rd, almost simultaneously, with a difference of half an hour, both brothers were detained. A search was conducted in the apartments where Mark and Sergei lived, as a result of which there was the red jacket of one of the victims was found. The arrest came as a shock to Sergei Chyorny. At the first interrogation, it turned out that he had no alibi for any of the episodes of the maniac's activities. During a more thorough search of Sergei's apartment, jewelry of girls deprived of their lives and many firearms that were not directly related to the case were found. Soon Black confessed everything and even reported 2 more reprisals. He made one of them in mid-August and the other at the end of October. Among other things, Black took on another fatal attack, telling how he drowned one victim in a stream, while law enforcement agencies considered her death an accident. But later it was not possible to prove Black's guilt in this episode. The maniac was sent for forensic examination. Only the second, in which experts from Moscow participated, recognized him as insane. Diagnosis: schizophrenia, manic depressive psychosis. Let me remind you that with such a diagnosis, the criminal worked in a security company and had a weapon. For the parents of the strangled girls, this happy turn in the fate of the strangler came as a complete surprise. A mentally ill person is not responsible for his actions. So, the monster has a chance to live a long, though not very happy, but still a life that their unfortunate daughters will never have. The court appointed Sergei Chyorny compulsory treatment in the Sychov psychiatric hospital of a special type. There, on the second floor of the hospital, teeming with all sorts of maniacs, the Black had to live out his life. He drank medicine, ate by the hour, read books. However, he was not a calm patient of the psychiatric hospital. According to the stories of the hospital staff, Sergei Chyorny behaved provocatively, and sometimes aggressively. From him and his relatives to the staff, there were constant threats. And he would have spent his life, securely fixed in a hospital bed, but fate decreed otherwise. God's punishment overtook the serial executioner. On June 24, 2001, the murderer, who had excellent health, died of purulent pneumonia. It happened abruptly and unexpectedly, although his health should have been monitored. The news that got into the media about the death of a maniac stirred Smolensk. Rumors spread around the city. They helped him. The work of the special services. Whether this is true or not, we will never know. Death cannot be undone. However, the mortality rate in the hospital is low. According to statistics, only 6 to 8 patients die a year. The grave of Sergei Chyorny is kept secret. And there is a reasonable explanation for this. After all, the parents of the dead girls swore to hammer an aspen stake into the beast's coffin so that he could not return back. More than 20 years have passed since then. Serial maniacs no longer bother Smolensk. No one knows how long this lull will last. Several documentaries were made about the Smolensk Strangler, as the media called him, which I recommend you to watch if you are interested in this topic. Documentary film. Black Tape, from the cycle, Criminal Russia, the documentary Diagnosis, Maniac, the documentary Maniacs, from the cycle, Top Secret. Documentary Investigation, and the documentary Black Angels, from the cycle, First Blood. About the maniac Vladimir Storozenko, who operated in Smolensk in 1981, I will tell you a little later. And you can write your own topics for the video in the comments.